What's going on, people? Welcome to another Emotion Football live stream. We got another nightly news update. March 12th. Yeah, March 12th. First day of the league year, third day of free agency, technically, because the tampering period started on Monday. So, this is the third stream we're doing where we recap a bunch of moves. I didn't know if today would be extra busy. Um, but yeah, it was. So we have a whole lot of moves to talk about. And we're gonna get started quickly. But before that, shout out to the 8 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel Emotion Football. Um, yeah, what we do here is we're gonna run through all the signings, like team by team, that I made note of today. And then after that, we're gonna have more of a free for all. I'm gonna get the guys involved. I'm gonna drop the link in the chat now for Jared and King to tap in, and anybody else that wants to join. But yeah, shout out to you guys. But yeah, no, we'll definitely make that happen. Big up to King. Congrats on the Darius Slay. I'll give you the whole rundown of what to expect from him at the end of the rundown. But we're going to start with the Seattle Seahawks, the first team I'm going to talk about. I think they made two pretty good signings here. And I'm kind of shocked that I'm saying that about one of these players, but they signed DeMarcus Lawrence, pass rusher from the Cowboys, and then they signed Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Why do I like the DeMarcus Lawrence signing? Because I just really I really think the Seahawks coach, what's his name, Mike McDonald. I think he understands defense. Um, because that's the case, I trust the fact that he's going to have a plan for DeMarcus Lawrence. And DeMarcus Lawrence at this age, I don't think he's going to be somebody who plays like 60-70% of the snaps in that defense. I think they have what? They have Uchenna and Wosu, and they have somebody else, the other guy. I think his name is Boye Mafe. But yeah, they got options. They got guys there. So I think they're going to be able to give him like, a decent amount of snaps off. I think they're going to keep him fresh, and I think he's going to be good. So it's a good signing for them for sure. And then Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Under no circumstances would I tell you, or no, under no circumstances did I expect that I would be looking at this signing one day and saying that's a great signing. But here's the thing with MVS, right? MVS was he was decent in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, but he was trash in Kansas City with Mahomes and in Buffalo with Josh Allen. So when you see a receiver falter with Mahomes and Josh Allen, you probably think that, oh, this guy's not that good. But he went to New Orleans last year and he thrived in that shit show of a quarterback situation. And it wasn't even with Derek Carr, because Carr missed the second half of the year. He was out there thriving with Rattler and Hayner. It was bizarre to see. Um, so my takeaway there is that Clint Kubiak really knows how to use MVS. Clint Kubiak going from New Orleans to Seattle, he's bringing MVS with him. No word of a lie. Marquez Valdez-Scantling played some of his best football with New Orleans last year since maybe rookie year, second year in Green Bay. So, yeah, if 31 teams could have signed him and I would have said it's a bad move, but Clint Kubiak, somebody who I just somehow, some way understands how to get the most out of this guy. He got his hands on MVS. And then if you think about the team that he's signing for, Seattle needs receivers in the absolute worst way. It is dire there at the receiver position. So it's a cheap, low risk move. I really like it for Seattle. Yeah, no, the Slay stuff got realistically got wrapped up on Monday. It just couldn't get finalized until today, but it was always gonna happen. Yeah, bro, your secondary looks good, but we're gonna talk about that offensive line at some point for sure. We're gonna talk about that offensive line. The next team we're gonna look at, the Buffalo Bills, who continue to make interesting moves. So the Buffalo Bills signed Larry Ogunjobi, DeMar Hamlin, and Derek Forrest today. So Ogunjobi, quality defensive tackle, added some depth there. I don't think they, because I'm just going to check it quickly. Our lads, all depth charts. Yeah. So I don't think he's going to start there because they have Ed Oliver, and I'm just trying to make note of who the other defensive tackle is. You know what? No, Ogunjobi is going to start. But yeah, they have options there. They're probably going to draft somebody as well. That gives them another name. Yeah, they got Larry. And then they got two safeties here. Now the safeties are important because they were missing both their safeties initially, but they got Rapp under contract, they got Hamlin under contract, and now they got Derek Forrest as depth. Derek Forrest was a part-time player for Washington, probably going to play a lot of special teams as well. But you got some depth. My biggest issue, again, I talk about it a lot. I think free agency is about giving yourself depth so that you don't have to be desperate for particular positions. And I think Buffalo did a great job of that, because while they still probably could draft a defensive tackle or a safety, they're not desperate to draft those positions anymore. And I think they achieved the same thing at edge. Um, they have a respectable amount of linebackers. They're used to playing without Milano every year. I think maybe at corner it might be a bit pressing, but aside from that, Bills don't have a ton of obvious needs. They're going to be able to draft by BPA, and that's good. But yeah, they spent their free agency signing a lot of like mid-tier free agents. Clearly, they're banking on internal development from some of their younger players in a good draft. But I don't hate the idea. I don't hate the idea. They have, such a clear superstar in Josh Allen. I think it would be a really good thing to, just make sure there's no obvious holes. Don't have as little like clear deficiencies as you can, and make people have to deal with that headache that is number 17. So yeah, while like neither of these players are like outstanding superstars, they did a good job of filling some gaps here. So I continue to like the Bills offseason. The next team we're going to look at are the Tennessee Titans. They made a handful of signings today, and they made some signings that I like. Kevin Zeitler, Draymond Jones, Van Jefferson, and Blake Hance. Blake Hance is just a guy, like just a backup depth guy, so not much to say there. But Van Jefferson at receiver, I don't think they're going to bank on him playing too much, but he's just a guy, a vet that they can at least just have there. I don't know if they're going to keep Tyler Boyd. I think they're definitely going to draft a receiver. But yeah, they have Calvin Ridley and Van Jefferson as their 1 and their 2 right now. They're definitely going to have to draft somebody to kick Van Jefferson to 3. But look how desperate things are for them to have Van Jefferson as their 2. I don't think they're really in a position to be chasing wins, so to speak. So I don't think you're going to be punished too severely for not having great receivers. But it's a 1-year deal. It's short term. You needed somebody. And you didn't get fleeced, so it's not mad. It's not that bad of a deal. But the two signings that I'm really happy about: Kevin Zeitler and Draymond Jones. One, Draymond Jones gives them some interior defensive line help. I struggle to understand how much depth they think they need, but holy shit, they have a ton of depth now, because there's no way Draymond Jones is considered outside linebacker, because that just failed for him in Seattle. Like, he's probably going to be a defensive, interior defensive lineman, and that gives them now Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, Sebastian Joseph Day, and Draymond Jones now. So you're 4 deep at the interior defensive line spot, and you got quality too. So I really like that signing. Bro, you guys got to sign some players. We're going to talk about this for sure at some point. But yeah, nice signing for the Titans. And then Zeitler offensively, right? So I talked yesterday about how they need to feed their offensive line coach good talent, because he's amazing. Bill Callahan. Zeitler, I think he's 32, 33, but I trust that if this offensive line coach gave the go-ahead on this signing, that he sees that like he's not washed. He was on Detroit last year. Detroit's line was great. So I doubt that he's all of a sudden just going to get trash out of nowhere. And again, I trust this coach's evaluation if Bill Callahan thinks he's going to be good. So yeah, I'm liking these signings. It solidifies the Titans offensive line. He's going to play right guard, I believe. So it upgrades the right guard spot. They got Cushenberry at center, this free agency signing from last year. They got Latham at right tackle. The guy they got from Pittsburgh at left tackle, I forget his name already. Dan Moore. And I forget who their left guard. Oh, yeah, Skoronski is the left guard. So they're set at offensive line now in terms of having the names. So, yeah, I like giving quality offensive line coaches talent. So definitely a fan of these moves. I'd say today makes me feel a little bit better about the Titans offseason, but ultimately they don't have a quarterback, so you can only be but so excited for an organization that hasn't found their quarterback yet. Um, but at the very minimum, if they draft somebody, they're going to put them in a decent spot behind a good offensive line. But yeah, we're going to move from the Titans to the Jets. The Jets signed a bunch of guys. So I think Okorafor was on the Steelers as well. So that's another Steeler gone somewhere else. But yeah, they got Josh Myers from the Packers. He was the Packers starting center last year. Isaiah Oliver, who I'm pretty sure was a slot corner in San Fran or Atlanta, one of the red teams. And then they got Okorafor, which is just like some depth on the offensive line, and they cut CJ Mosley. So they cut CJ Mosley because they paid Jamie Sherwood and they have Quincy Williams. So they already have two linebackers. They don't really need him. And I think he was banged up last year anyways. So there's that. Josh Myers is going to step in and play center. So to take a peek at their offensive line, I think they still have a need somewhere on the line, but this at least alleviates one of them. Where are the Jets? Okay, so they got Elijah Vera Tucker, John Simpson. Oh yeah, they need a left tackle still. But yeah, Josh Myers is gonna help. Isaiah Oliver. That one, I mean, I think he's going to play the slot for them. They have Michael Carter as well. I know he used to play the slot, so they have options. I don't know exactly who it's going to be, but yeah, they signed Brandon Stevens. They have Sauce Gardner, so I think that rounds out their secondary. Oliver played for the Falcons. Yeah. Okay, so if he played for the Falcons, he got his job took, I think. So I don't think he had a great year. You know what? Okay, that changes things. Because with Atlanta, if it was with San Fran, damn, I really forget who was on San Fran last year playing the slot. But basically, I don't like the Brandon Stevens signing because I don't think he was that good in Baltimore. If Isaiah Oliver came from Atlanta, he got his job taken by Mike Hughes. So that's another corner that I don't think had the best year last year that they're giving money to, which isn't great. But yeah, and then Okorafor is just some depth, so nothing to write home about there. But yeah, the Jets, I think they needed the kind of offseason that like the Titans are having, or like who else did a good job of it? The Bills to a lesser degree. These teams that are just signing, the Jaguars, teams that are just signing a volume of okay players. I think the Jets needed that kind of offseason and they're not having it. So I don't love that for them. But yeah, they still have some time. There's still some good players out there. The Cowboys made a flurry of moves today. They got a couple linebackers in. They signed Jack Sanborn, somebody who was a depth guy in Chicago with Eberflus. So there's some familiarity there. They traded for Kenneth Murray, linebacker from the Chargers, and they traded for Kaiir Elam. They're having a really strange offseason because they seem to have a pattern of wanting to chase. Actually, it dates even earlier than this offseason. For the last 2 years, they've made a point. What the reality is they're making a point of acquiring players based on their draft evaluations, right? So Trey Lance, bust, but they must have liked him in the draft, so we're gonna go get him. Mingo, bust, but they probably liked him in the draft, so they're gonna go get him. Kaiir Elam, bust, but they probably liked him in the draft, they're gonna go get him. There's other players too. There's a few other ones, but it really seems. Solomon Thomas, they signed him. Oh no! Here, I heard him talking shit about the Niners. He was talking about how finally they have to experience what it's like to have to pay a quarterback. La La Land is done. I saw him say something like that. Nah, no way. He does not want to go there. But yeah, man, Cowboys, strange offseason. It looks like they're trying to get bang for their buck, bringing in players that are cheap that didn't work elsewhere to try to rehabilitate them. It's a really strange approach to things. I think this is what happens when you delay paying your best players and you have to pay them a pretty penny. So that's not quite working out the way that they would have hoped. But shit, man. I don't think they've spent more than $6 million a year on a free agent in a long time. and they definitely need an infusion of talent. So they didn't get that. It's been a very, very strange offseason for them. And the strange offseason continues. I could not believe that they traded for Kyrie Elam. At least Kenneth Murray has had some production, but even Kenneth Murray, like if Jim Harbaugh passes on a linebacker or like gets rid of a linebacker, I'm kind of just gonna assume that he's right. I take it that they're not going to be getting a great player. Looking at the Chargers linebacker room, they are pretty stacked from the standpoint of like they have Deion Henley and Junior Colson, 2 third-round picks of back-to-back years, and then they brought back Perryman and died today. So we're gonna talk about that. But yeah, they got guys. Yeah, man, Cowboys offseason, it's been a strange one. Looking at the Commanders now, the Commanders actually made some moves that I like today. I've been a little bit lukewarm on their offseason, but they made some solid moves. They got Eddie Goldman, who is an old defensive tackle. Well, he's 31, so not that old, but somebody who's bounced around, quality depth piece. So I'm looking at their defensive tackle room, and like I like where everybody's at in terms of Deron Payne and Johnny Newton. That's pretty good. Javon Kinlaw. Eddie Goldman, I like his depth. Javon Kinlaw, I don't like at all. I kind of just hate that signing. But I mean, considering that he's one of the 4 defensive tackles in the room that I don't like that position as a whole is in a good spot. And then they signed Dietrich Wise. So he was on the Patriots for the last few years. Quality rotational edge player. Unfortunately for them, they need more than just him because they only have 1 edge rusher under contract. This is 2 now. So they're going to need to hit that position again, but this isn't a bad player. They brought back Mariota. Mariota's solid. They brought in Jonathan Jones, who I'm assuming he's going to be their nickel corner to replace Noah Igbenogany, who's a free agent. Noah was okay. Wasn't particularly great. But Jonathan Jones is 32. So I don't know how that's going to work. But he's okay. Like, not going to go ahead and say he's a bad player. So I like the Wise and Goldman signings. Marcus Mariota, that signing just is what it is. They needed a quality backup. He obviously is cool with Jaden Daniels, cool with Cliff Kingsbury. So yeah, not mad at Washington signings today. Like I said, I don't mind when good teams make just a high volume of solid players. That's not bad to me. With their offseason so far, I really just hate the Kinlaw move. But like Goldman, Weiss, Will Harris, Jonathan Jones, all this like volume shooting on steady players, I'm very cool with that. I think it's going to help their depth. And like I said in the offseason preview series, they were going to miss a lot. They were going to lose a lot of free agents just because of how many free agents they had. So they had to get a high volume of players in, and you're not going to sign a bunch of big contracts at once. So they were going to have to make these middle of the road signings on 1-year deals, and I think they've made some good ones. So can't complain too much about their offseason. Next, we're going to look at the Chargers, and I wish Jenwell was here to see this because I wanted to ask him some questions. But the Chargers re-signed Denzel Perryman and Troy Dye, 2 linebackers, and they re-signed Jalen Reagor as well, which is strange. But they also signed Mike Williams after trading him a couple years ago, I want to say. No, when did they trade him? They traded him like a year and a half ago. It wasn't even that long ago. So they brought back Mike Williams, and then they brought in Benjamin St-Juste. I kind of don't like the Chargers offseason because I think they're going for the kind of an offseason that I'm like the thing that I'm referencing with Buffalo and the Commanders of getting a high volume of steady players. I think the Chargers are going for that, but I don't think that they've been getting particularly good players. What I mean by that, Mike Williams, bro. Yes, they brought back Mike Williams. Because here's my thing, right? Let's look at some of the Chargers contracts. You know what? No, I'm gonna pull up another window. Chargers. No, hold on. Spotrac, because Spotrac does a better job of listing them all by bread. So give me a minute. I'm gonna pull up the Chargers free agency signings because it includes re-signings. The website that I look at only really shows new signings. All right, here's the Chargers. Okay, players that the Chargers acquired. Dante Jackson. I don't think he's particularly good. Bradley Bozeman, they re-signed him. Jenwell complained about him all the time. Mike Williams, I think he's cooked. Troy Dye, that's a special teamer. Tyir Tart, he's solid. Najee Harris, I'm not really a fan. Denzel Perryman, 32-year-old linebacker, he's solid. Benjamin St. Juste, this guy's not good. He got benched in Washington for a reason. He was out there getting terrorized by Eagles receivers multiple times a year. Jalen Rager, that guy's not good. Like, they signed a high volume of players so far that I just don't think are good. This is a really strange offseason for them. I do not think they've done a good job building on what they have. I think they're going to stagnate next year. I think the development of their players within their schemes in year 2, that's going to be a bump, but I don't think they've done anything to get better on paper. Maybe they're going to have an outrageous draft or something, but I really don't love these Chargers signings. Like, I would say they signed below mid players. I think mid is putting it nicely. I think they signed a bunch of trash. Najee Harris and Mike Williams is outrageous. Why are they signing so many Steelers? That wasn't even a great Steelers team. Dante Jackson, Najee Harris, and Mike Williams. What are we doing? Yeah, I'm really not a fan. They're not, like, next year that division is going to be Denver versus Kansas City. I don't think the Chargers are going to be in it. I think they'll be above Vegas for sure, but I don't think they're really competing for that. Where the fuck are my players going, man? Yeah, you guys are losing a lot of players. But that being said, you're not losing great players, bro. You're just losing players. Like, you're just losing bodies. But I think, like, the players that you're losing weren't even particularly important parts of your team. But the next team we're going to look at, the Cardinals. The Cardinals signed Dalvin Tomlinson, Michael Walker, and LJ Collier. So the thing is, with Dalvin Tomlinson, the Cardinals finally signed another player that's solid, like, in terms of the deal. Because aside from Josh Sweat, their biggest contract that they handed out was $5 million a year, and they've been doing that for like a couple years now. Because actually, I can look at their free agent signings from last year. Okay, they basically went for mid-tier signings except for Justin Jones and Jonah Williams, and then the year before, basically they didn't sign any players over $5 million. So basically, like, this regime has come in and spent very little money. I've been heavily critical of them for that. But yeah, Dalvin Tomlinson should help. I think he's a little bit old, but it is what it is. He's still probably going to be able to contribute. I saw he signed a pretty big deal as well, almost $15 million a year. So that's good for him getting cut in Cleveland. But he was a big part. Like, he was a full-time player on an average defense last year on a team that constantly put their defense in bad situations. So I like that for Arizona. I also talked pretty extensively on how the interior of their defensive line, it just doesn't look that good at all. So this is a clear upgrade. They also signed LJ Collier, who had a career high in production last year. So they brought two of their interior defensive linemen back. They brought their best interior defensive lineman from last year back. They brought in Dalvin Tomlinson. Bit of an upgrade there. Like, their front seven is starting to look a little bit more well-rounded. And yeah, it's a little bit of progress for the Cardinals for me. Again, very critical at the fact that they don't spend money. Do I think they probably could have spent better, got a better player for $15 million a year? Probably, but it's not that they're getting a bad player with Dalvin Tomlinson. So they're going to get a little bit of credit. Okay, next team we're going to look at, Carolina Panthers. They signed Rico Dowdell and Christian Roseboom. So Dowdell is a local player. I realize he has a lot of roots in the area, so that's a cool storyline, I guess. But basically, they got a backup for Chuba Hubbard. And the way they paid Chuba Hubbard, he's clearly going to be the starter. And the way they paid Rico Dowdell, he's clearly going to be the backup. So I think people may have thought that the Panthers would sign or draft a running back, but they're definitely out of contention for that now. As far as Dowdell, the player, I don't think he's a bad backup. So I don't think they got a bad player. That's solid. And then Christian Roseboom, he was a full-time player for the Rams when healthy. I think he missed some time, but he was basically a Rams starting linebacker whenever healthy. And I thought he was okay in terms of how their linebackers played. I think Spates is the one that was holding it down a little bit more, but that's a steady player. Again, the kind of player that you could probably play, and if things don't work out, it's not a huge enough deal for the contract to hold the player on the team. And if you draft somebody that's better than them, you can just have this guy play special teams. So not a bad piece to add. But like what I would say about the Panthers is that the Panthers are also having one of those off seasons where they just sign a high volume of steady players. The problem with the Panthers is that I actually think that they're in a spot where they need some premier talent. Uh, they've signed two big free agents, Tershawn Warden and Trevon Morig, but like I think they could have used more. But particularly, I think they could have used some more investment on the offensive side of the ball because Dowdell is the only like off. There's only two offensive players they've signed in free agency, and they're both backups. The fact that Carolina doesn't think they need to add to their starters offensively is actually like insane to me. But it is what it is, I guess. Like they have a lot of belief in what they have going on. But yeah, I would have definitely tried to bolster at least something offensively. Like there's got to be something. Um, but yeah, we're gonna push past Carolina here. The Broncos signed Evan Engram and Justin Sternad. So Sternad is gonna be a backup and play special teams. The starters are probably gonna be Dre Greenlaw and what's his name, Alex Singleton. And if not Singleton, I think they have somebody else as well. Let me look that up. Where is Denver? Okay, yeah, here they are. Oh yeah, Drew Sanders, third round pick. So they have options. But if Sternad has to play, he did play quite a bit last year. But yeah, Evan Engram, that's the big one. They added a tight end. They upgraded Adam Troutman, who has been with Sean Payton for a long time, but is not a particularly great tight end. Sean Payton had a very interesting quote in the draft process. He talked about how in the modern NFL, the way he sees it, your running back and your tight end have to be star players. So for people who don't know what that means, star players like people who like the star position in college football defensively is like hybrid safety, linebacker, corner, just a player you put on the field. You don't really give them too specific of a role and you let them just do everything because they're just a little bit good at everything, right? That's the star position. He's talking about tight ends and receivers being stars, as in being versatile players that can do a whole lot of shit. They could probably, catch screens, maybe even get a handoff, go run routes. So you're looking for a very versatile kind of a player. In Evan Engram, it looks like they got their star at the tight end spot because Evan Engram was basically a receiver at tight end for the longest time. Very versatile player. You can do a whole lot with him. So that's a solid signing. He's an older player. He's only on a 2-year deal. But I talked about how I think they needed to upgrade Bo Nix's weapons, and this is definitely one upgrade. If I was them, I would still be looking for one more receiver. They should probably be in on. I would say they should be in on Stephon Diggs. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they need that kind of an upgrade. I don't think the draft is going to give them that. But Evan Engram is not a bad start. Next team we're looking at is the Falcons. They got some depth at defensive tackle with Taquan Graham. That's nothing really. No, it's not really anything to write home about. Mike Ford, designated special teamer, so that's nothing to write home about. Really, the reason that I put this up here, the thing I wanted to talk about, is just how inactive the Falcons have been. They have signed. They have signed 1, 2, 3. They've signed 3 free agents from other teams. Leonard Floyd, a 32-year-old edge rusher who's going to help, but he's a 32-year-old edge rusher. Divine Diablo, a linebacker who is going to help, but he's not really a game changer. He's just a steady player. And Michael Ford, who's a special teamer. So the Falcons have had an incredibly inactive Cooper Kupp. I don't think you want Cooper Kupp to be like a 1 anymore or like a very important player. I think you want Cooper Kupp. I think his best role at this point is to play beside a superstar, and I don't think Denver has that. But yeah, back to the Falcons. This is absurd because I think they could have also used the kind of offseason that some other teams are having in terms of getting a high volume of steady players. And they're just not doing that. They're barely getting anybody. And if you tell me that all their defense needed was Divine Diablo and Leonard Floyd, I think that's ridiculous. They also lost a starting center, right? One of the better, it looks, the way they talk about him, like one of the better starting centers in football. So you've lost quite a bit as the Falcons. And what have they done to replace those players? A whole lot of nothing. They're not even picking that high in the draft to say that, oh, you're really relying on them to have an amazing draft class. They're in the middle of the first round where you can't even necessarily project who's going to be there. They don't know who's going to be on the board. It's not like you're picking at 5 and you can, with some pretty good certainty, anticipate 2 or 3 players you're going to have the choice to pick, or like a handful of players you're going to have the choice from to pick. But no, the Falcons they're having an irresponsibly inactive offseason, and I really think they're setting themselves up for failure. This has the feeling of them realizing they have to fire Raheem Morris in order to redeem the rest of Michael Penix's rookie contract. That's the kind of offseason I think they're heading into next year. But yeah, while we're here, man, free Bijan, free Michael Penix, free Drake London, free Pitts, free all the guys that I actually think highly of in Atlanta, because my goodness, that situation is a shit show. I understand why they interviewed Belichick and didn't hire him. I don't think they know anything about what's going on. But yeah, what a horrible offseason. And who else do we have? Next team, Indianapolis Colts. So Danny Pinter is just a depth guy on the offensive line. They basically lost 2 interior offensive linemen. I don't think Danny Pinter is the kind of guy you sign to replace Fries or Ryan Kelly. He's just there to probably be a camp body. Khalil Herbert, though, I like that signing. I think Khalil Herbert is good. I think unfortunately last year he battled injuries, but I think he's good. And the thing with Indianapolis is they're a team that has to know with absolute certainty that they're going to have to play their backup running back, because Jonathan Taylor loves to keep an injury on him. He loves to keep an injury on him. So with that in mind, you're probably going to have to play that guy. And let me see who the backup was before this signing, because I don't think it was somebody you could rely on. Who was it? Okay, yeah, it was Trey Sermon and Tyler Goodson. So yeah, they needed to upgrade the backup running back spot, and I think they did with Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert was on the Bears until he got traded to the Bengals in the middle of the year, but then he got hurt, so we didn't really see him. But on the Bears, I thought he was solid. Where are we? Okay. Buccaneers. The Buccaneers signed Greg Gaines and Kyle Trask. So both these players were on the team last year. Greg Gaines, solid rotational defensive tackle. Not a bad player to bring back into the fold. Kyle Trask, though, he's going to be their backup quarterback again. And I actually think that they're flirting with disaster having Kyle Trask play this big of a role, because I just don't think he's good at all. And Baker Mayfield has stayed remarkably healthy, but anybody who watches Baker Mayfield play knows that he doesn't necessarily protect himself. I think he's gotten pretty lucky. In Cleveland, he had quite a few injury issues. In Tampa, he's stayed fairly healthy. But remember him trucking a linebacker in the playoff game? Baker Mayfield is not somebody who is very cautious and careful. He will put himself out there to get hit. And honestly, I kind of think it's just a matter of time before he misses some time. And if that means that Kyle Trask has to play, my goodness, they're going to lose games. So I really don't like the idea of having Kyle Trask as the backup. I think that's kind of irresponsible. But yeah, it's their loss. This is the NFC South. They are a set of franchises that have been doing a lot of strange things as of late. But yeah, I just don't think Kyle Trask, it's acceptable to have for you to be one play away from seeing Kyle Trask, and the player that is at risk is Baker Mayfield, the guy who likes trucking linebackers. Yeah, I don't think that's a particularly good situation to be in. But to move past the Bucks, we're going to look at the Vikings. The Vikings brought back Harrison Smith. They had to give him some new money to get the deal over the line. I didn't know that he was contemplating not returning. But yeah, that kind of locks up their secondary. They're going to definitely have Metellus and Smith at safety. They're definitely going to have Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy at corner. They still need to figure out one more corner spot. I'm thinking, you know what? No, never mind. I'm thinking Mekhi Blackmon is probably he tore his ACL last year. He was going to play. So you're probably looking at Mekhi Blackmon, Byron Murphy, and Isaiah Rodgers. And then you look at the front. You know what? I think their whole defense is set from a starter standpoint. They could probably use some depth, and maybe they could use a nose tackle, but neither of those things are high draft picks. So it looks like they're definitely going offense in the first round. Damn, bro. The Vikings have options. You know what? I think the Vikings might go running back in the draft, first round. We'll talk about that later, though. Lots of time to talk about the draft. But yeah, solid move for the Vikings. Obviously, they retained a quality player, a leader of the team, and they're gonna need the supporting cast for JJ McCarthy to do as much as they can for him. And I think bringing in this kind of leader is a great start to making sure that the supporting cast around JJ McCarthy is firing on all cylinders. Similarly, the Saints did the same kind of thing with Cameron Jordan. They gave him a little bit more money to secure him back for another year. This one's a little bit different, where I don't actually think it matters for the team whether he plays or not, because I don't think they're really going anywhere anyways. Yeah, man, they kind of have a weird situation going on where they've surprisingly, in this situation, spent a lot of money on veteran players, and none of us think they're going anywhere, but they've spent money on giving more money to Cam Jordan, giving I think they restructured Tyrann Mathieu, and then they paid Justin Reed. So I talked about how with them in Jacksonville, both those teams are at a bit of a crossroads with how expensive their roster is, despite being not that good. It's clear that they took very different approaches. The Jaguars' approach is, we're going to spend, on young players. We're going to, not spend too much money, and we're just going to lean into really developing young players and kind of build starting over. The Saints said, screw that shit, man. We think that we probably weren't that good last year because of coaching. We think we got a good coach, and we're going to spend money on vets and, try to be good. It's kind of jarring, but it's what the Saints want to do. Next team we're going to look at, the Niners. The Niners signed Mac Jones to be Brock Purdy's backup. This just happened recently. I think it happened just before I started the stream. So Michael McCorkle Jones, famous for having a hilarious ass name, Michael McCorkle, will be Brock Purdy's backup. So Brock Purdy, I think he's been fairly held, he hasn't had any major injuries, but I feel like he's missed one or two games here and there. And the thing with Mac Jones is Mac Jones has long been said to be somebody that would have thrived in the Shanahan offense, and I think we're going to see it next year. I'm so confident that Purdy's going to miss a game because it doesn't look like their offensive line is going to be solid. The way their team is set up, I don't think they're really built to be good immediately. So if Trent Williams gets hurt, he's not going to rush to come back. I think we're going to see Mac Jones next year, and I don't think that's going to be a good thing. But yeah, man, backup quarterbacks are hard to come by. The standard of quarterback play on the bench of football teams is not particularly good. And yeah, I think that they're going from Josh Dobbs to Mac Jones, and I actually think that's a pretty big downgrade. But yeah, people, Niners, any given game are one play from Mac Jones being the trigger man on that team. And the Eagles made a move. The Eagles have signed a player. They signed A.J. Dillon, running back from the Packers, who missed all of last year with a neck injury. But before that was a decently productive player. He apparently got cleared. His neck injuries got cleared, and he's healthy to play football. I like the signing from the standpoint of he's going to be really cheap. And if he's not good anymore, it'll cost nothing to get rid of him. As long as we're not, putting him in a position where he's just going to be the number 2 running back against, regardless of what happens, that's fine. I'm still thinking we should draft somebody to compete with him, or even sign somebody else to compete with him. As long as he has some competition, I'm okay. But in theory, if he's healthy, I think this is an amazing signing because he's a good pass protector. And you would think that because he's almost 250 pounds that he can't catch the ball, but he averages 9 yards a catch in his career. He's not a power back that has no hands. He's actually oddly enough, right? I think the reason he didn't look that good in Green Bay is because Green Bay never really had an offensive line. So you never really got to see his power running game look effective. He could get 2 yards in short yardage situations, but that doesn't really ever move you. If you think about the things that he established in Green Bay, it's that he can pass protect and he can catch the ball a little bit. You put this guy behind our offensive line, and if he's healthy, I actually think he's going to be a quality backup. And again, pass protection is, I think, the biggest thing that we're going to ask for. So I actually like him as a backup. Here's where I'm a little bit concerned. If Saquon Barkley gets hurt and now we have to have somebody be like a lead running back, I don't think he's cut out for that. Like, I damn near think we should draft somebody with the mind of like AJ Dillon is the backup, regardless of whether Saquon's healthy or not. Like, I don't think it's going to be Shipley, but if we could get a running back in like round 3 that could be a guy that has more upside, because I don't think AJ Dillon can be the guy you give the ball to 18 times a game. So I like him as a backup. I don't even know if he's going to be healthy or not, or if he's going to be like himself. But if he is, I like the signing. And random side note, between AJ Dillon, Saquon Barkley, and Jalen Hurts, though, like, that's so much squad ability. Like, I know people are talking about their quads. I'm not going to obsess over their quads. I think that's a little bit weird. But if you just talk about how much those guys can squat, think about how crazy this tush push is going to be with AJ Dillon and Saquon Barkley behind Jalen Hurts. That shit's going to be crazy. Oh, man. Please bring back Mekhi Becton, man. Please be freeing up all this money to bring back Mekhi Becton. Because, my goodness, we had the biggest offensive line in Super Bowl history last year. We're now combining the biggest offensive line with Saquon Barkley, AJ Dillon, and Jalen Hurts. But the power rushing game next year is going to be wild. Next move we're going to look at, Dolphins bring back Tyrell Dodson. So they signed him on a 1-year deal last year, I think, last year. He played last year and he was solid. So they bring back a solid player. Nothing to really get too detailed about in terms of analysis, but they needed some bodies because they were missing 3. I think they only had 1 linebacker under contract. So at least this gives them another body. And, not a long-term solution necessarily, but they can, they don't have to draft somebody high anymore. So that's good. And the Dolphins signed Zach Wilson. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. The Giants signed Stone Forsythe, offensive tackle. This move, I hate. I think this guy's really, really bad. Every time I've ever watched Seattle and he's been playing, he's been getting cooked. And the issue is that, Seattle doesn't do particularly great with offensive linemen. So maybe if he signed for Philadelphia or Tennessee, some of these places with really, really good offensive line coaches, I'd be like, you know what? Maybe he was just in Seattle. But he's going to the Giants, who are notoriously bad for offensive line development. Nobody has really gone there and gotten better, right? If they draft a great player like I think Andrew Thomas is the good one, because they got Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal. One of them is great, one of them isn't. But like, they just get what they get. Like, they don't really develop offensive linemen. So this guy who I've seen play horribly in Seattle is now going to be in New York. I think that's a horrible idea. So, I hate this signing. And I hope for their sake that he never touches the field. But as an Eagles fan, of course, I hope he starts 17 games. But this guy's not good. I don't know if King's here. But the Steelers signed Brandon Nichols. Brandon Nichols. What the hell am I saying? Brandon Eccles. He played for the Jets last year. He played a lot of minutes. I'm just trying to see how much. Yeah, so he was a slot corner. My thing about this move is like he played a lot of volume as slot corner. You know what's crazy? He's backstage on StreamYard. So I don't know if he's listening to this, but yeah. You guys have Beanie Bishop, and Beanie Bishop was balling last year. So I think this is just competition for Beanie Bishop, but that really solidifies your secondary. You guys are going to have Slay and JPJ on the outside, and then either Eccles or Beanie Bishop in the slot. So the corner spot is basically set for you guys. With Deshaun Elliott and Minkah Fitzpatrick, you guys also have 2 good safeties. So the back end of the defense is set. But yeah, man. Not a bad signing. It didn't cost them a lot of money. Good competition at an important spot. Slot corner nowadays is basically as important as most starting spots. So, yeah, that's an important piece to have depth at, or an important part of the team to have depth at. The Browns signed Malik Collins. So they lost Dalvin Tomlinson, the guy that Arizona signed today. They replaced him with Malik Collins, a slightly cheaper option. Malik Collins has bounced around quite a bit, but he's kind of always played everywhere he's gone. I think he was in some order of Houston and San Francisco. Um, so yeah, he goes to Cleveland now. I think Jim Schwartz is still the defensive coordinator there, right? But yeah, Jim Schwartz, another coach that I kind of just trust their judgment with when it comes to defensive personnel. So yeah, this guy replaces Dalvin Tomlinson. I think it should be a fairly seamless fit. Anybody on that defensive line in Cleveland benefits from the fact that Myles Garrett commands double teams every single play. So yeah, he should eat. He should eat. I think he's used to that kind of treatment playing alongside Nick Bosa and Will Anderson Jr. But yeah, more of the same. And if anything, it's going to be even better for him in Cleveland. So not a bad signing. Texans signed Casey Toohill. Just a depth guy. But the only thing to talk about here is just how many depth guys Houston has how many depth players Houston has signed in the offseason. I'm going to pull up their depth chart right now. Where are they at? Okay, Houston. So signed Darrell Taylor, Mario Edwards. No, hold on. On the edge, they signed Darrell Taylor, Derek Barnett, and now Casey Toohill. Like 3 backups. They already have their 2 starters in Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson, like really loading up the depth at the edge rusher spot. And they still already have Danico Autry. So like, and even if you kick Danico Autry to the inside, they then have Mario Edwards and Sheldon Rankins. A lot of volume, not particularly amazing players, but a lot of volume on the interior of the line. And just before I get the guys in, one last signing to talk about. The Ravens re-signed Tylan Wallace. Obviously, good kick returner. He got a game-winning touchdown against the Rams, I think, last year. Or like, if not this past year, the year before. I think he randomly had a huge game against the Steelers, I want to say, out of nowhere. But yeah, aside from that, the main reason this is here is just how inactive Baltimore is. I'm kind of shocked that that's the case. Now, I'm aware that they're not a spend big money kind of a franchise, but I thought they had an opportunity to get better, and they're not really taking it. So they're only signing from outside of the roster, like from outside of the organization, is DeAndre Hopkins, and I don't think he's good anymore. So not great. But yeah, I'm going to get the guys in. I'm going to put King and Jared on the stream now. And we're going to transition into the free-for-all part of the stream. So what are you guys saying, bro? Thoughts?
I think the Texans are just trying to death.
Hold on. You guys are both talking at the same time. I can't hear. Okay, hold on. Jared first. What's up?
I think Texans are just trying death in their thing.
Yeah. Straight depth everywhere on the defensive line. But low-key, you guys are neglecting the offensive line.
But I do like the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade.
Yeah, for sure. You guys are. I think you guys have right now. You have 3 safeties and 3 corners. So like, holy shit, you guys are 6 deep in the secondary. You guys are pretty deep in the defensive front. Like, you guys are definitely gonna have an amazing defense next year. It's just my thing is like it looks like you guys aren't gonna have a good offensive line.
We need to do something about that.
Yeah, barring like some amazing development from guys like Blake Fisher, Jarrett Patterson, Juice Scruggs, or like a great draft pick. It looks like you guys are just going to have an okay offensive line at best.
Then we trade away Tunzel.
Yeah.
King, you can go.
Kind of a weird spot to be in for you guys. King, why do you think they signed Echols? Because I thought Beanie Bishop would just be the slot corner.
I guess just in case if one of our secondary go down, let's get another one, maybe.
Okay, because that makes sense. Because what I was going to tell you about Slay is that, so last year, Slay, I actually think he had a great year. Like, I think Slay played like a top 10 corner. The only thing is he missed a lot of time, and it wasn't like, oh, he would get injured and miss 2-3 weeks. He would leave games regularly. So he was by far the oldest starting outside corner at 33 last year. And basically, if you look at it this way, right? Isaiah Rodgers is not a starter, right? Our starters were Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Darius Slay. But Isaiah Rodgers got a whole $15 million contract off the time that he spent filling in for Darius Slay. So I say that all to say, I think what you guys are going to get is you guys are going to get top 10 corner play, but probably for 2/3 of the season. And 1/3 of the season, you're going to have a backup play. And as long as you structure your team to be able to do that, then you guys are going to be fine.
Yeah, hopefully. But also, why does it seem like we just lost so many players?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up this website.
We just lost like so many guys.
You lost Najee Harris, Van Jefferson.
Yeah, I got you guys. Hold on. Let me pull up this website.
We should do the draft stream.
I'm down. Like I'm definitely down to do day 2. I might watch day 1 with my friends, but that's still up in the air. But yeah, guys, look at this. This website here shows it pretty well. So you lost Dan Moore, Van Jefferson, Justin Fields, James Daniels, Elandon Roberts, Dante Jackson, Mike Williams, Najee Harris, and Larry Ogunjobi. And the players that you've brought in: Brandon Eccles, Kenneth Gainwell, Malik Harrison, and Darius Slay. Now the thing is, Harrison, Gainwell, and Eccles, as of now, they're all backups, right? You guys have brought in one starter in free agency and then one starter, obviously, in the trade market with Metcalf. So Metcalf and Slay are the 2 upgrades. And don't get me wrong, they're outstanding players. Like, I think you guys got really 2 amazing players, but I think you guys needed more than 2 amazing players.
Same like my Texans.
Hold on, King. I think your audio was low because I don't think I heard what you just said.
I just said, yeah, like we're losing quite a bunch and not getting anything back for it.
Yeah, you know what? I saw
losing like a lot of talent for this.
Who did my Texans lose?
I can pull that up for you. Let's go to Houston. So you guys have only lost Eric Murray.
That's it.
Yeah, Eric Murray's he's the only person that's left yet. You guys still have a bunch of free agents. So Stephon Diggs, Shaq Mason, Okudah, Woods. There's a bunch of free agents you have. These are just unsigned players. But in terms of players that have already left, it's just Eric Murray, and you already replaced him with CJGJ.
More O-line.
Yeah, and then the O-line, you guys also lost Tunsil. Oh, yeah, because this is just free agents. This doesn't account for trades.
Yeah.
But hold on. I saw PFF top 100 remaining. I saw an interesting post about the best available free agents according to Pro Football Focus. So we can go through the list here. I mean, there's some good players.
Amari Cooper,
Stephon Diggs, Rasul Douglas, Cam Robinson, Tevin Jenkins, Kendall Fuller,
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Hilton. So, like, there's some good players here. Mekhi Becton, Keenan Allen, Von
Russell
Miller,
Wilson.
Zadarius Smith. Azeez Ojulari, I think he should be higher on this list.
Didn't Gilmore retire?
Stephon Gilmore? No, you're right. He's here, number 23 on the list.
I thought he retired.
I know.
Matthew Judon, a former Patriot.
Yeah, you got Juan Thornhill, who was still playing good ball last year. There's still a solid amount of good players. So we're definitely going to be doing these streams again for a couple more nights.
Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb is, I think he's probably going to have to be a backup next year. But, I mean, year 2 off major knee injuries are usually when a player looks more like themselves.
I thought the Browns would have re-signed him by now.
I mean, I don't think he's going to be back because it's an awkward spot for him to be joining a rebuilding team. And he also had a horrible year last year. Like, understandably so. He tore up his whole knee. And the first year back from knee injuries, you're usually never really the same. So understandable, but he did not have a good year. Signing him is basically just investing in the idea that he might look better, but he cannot be anything more than a backup at this point.
I wouldn't mind the Texans grabbing him.
Yeah, why not as a Mixon backup? I was looking at it like, man, I would Nick Chubb bring me bring me Nick Chubb as a Saquon backup.
Bring me Nick Chubb to a Mixon backup.
Yeah, so I actually think he's probably going to get his choice between organizations when it comes to a backup job. If he's looking for a starting job, then he's probably going to have to um choose between one or two spots, but yeah.
Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett 38, like no way he should be this low. Amenahu is also a solid player. Like there's still decent players.
Brandon Graham.
Brandon Graham, old as hell, but when he plays, he's still pretty good.
Eli
Brandon
Nicole Hardman.
Brandon Cook. Tyler Boyd. Juju Smith-Schuster. Nelson Aguilar.
Kareem Hunt.
Mason Rudolph.
There's still players out here. So yeah, I'm definitely not too stressed about some of these teams that have more signings to make. But what I would say is that there's no elite talent left, right? There's some good players, but if you needed an infusion of elite talent, like I think Carolina or Atlanta did, the boat has sailed.
New England.
Arizona, I think. New England, the thing is, at least they got a little bit of it, right?
Yeah, they already spent over $170 million already.
Yeah, and like the thing is they may have only got like one elite talent, but they got a bunch of pretty good players. So that almost makes up for it.
They need to add a wide receiver though, like Mari Cooper, Stiggs, or Cooper Cuff or Drake May.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. They definitely need to upgrade there. But at least the thing with them is that if they really need a wide receiver, they could absolutely get one in the draft. Like at number 4
because they have the number 4 pick.
If they wanted Travis Hunter or Tedero McMillan, they could definitely draft one of them.
They're saying that they're going to draft Drew Carter because his injury.
Abdul Carter? I mean,
Yeah.
You know what it is? Like, I think Abdul Carter is the Vrabel pick, but I don't know if they're actually going to... I don't know if he's going to be there.
Yeah.
But but here's the thing. The Titans, man, the Titans still have no quarterback, and that scares me.
I think they're going to take Cam Ward.
It's really looking like that more and more as the days pass.
And Shadir Sanders is going to the Raiders.
So this is the thing. Russell Wilson is visiting the Browns. If they don't sign another quarterback, I'm pretty confident that they're taking Shador number 2.
Well, they got Kenny Pickett from your Eagles.
Because right now they only have Kenny Pickett, and there's no way that that's the plan, right? So unless they sign Russell Wilson, I think they're taking Shador number 2.
Then who would the Giants pick up?
I think they get their choice between Carter and Travis Hunter, and they probably take Carter. Actually, you know what? Here's the thing. They have Thibodeau and Brian Burns, so maybe they take Travis Hunter.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, wow.
And then the Patriots will get Carter or something.
Yeah, then the Patriots luck out with Abdul Carter.
Imagine that on the Patriots defense.
Man. Bring back, god damn, that would be crazy. Because then they would have him and Harold Landry. They would suddenly, out of nowhere, have a good pass rush. Abdul Carter is also looks like a personal fave for me because I've never seen a college football player be such a big NFL fan.
I know, saying.
It's pretty.
No, but my Texas secondary is nasty this year.
What's that?
My Texas secondary is nasty this year.
Oh yeah, the whole defense, man. You guys are going to be shutting people down.
And we play your Eagles too.
Do you?
Yeah, we play your Eagles this year.
Really? Hold on. Let me look
in Philly.
So what? Is it like AFC South versus NFC East this year?
So this is the thing. I know we play the AFC West. Yeah, because we play the Chiefs division, but there's always one random game.
Yeah, and we play you guys.
Hold on. I'm not seeing that on the schedule.
Unless it's next year.
I think it's the year after.
Yeah, it's the year after.
I got such a schedule. I know our schedule's hard. We play the whole AFC. Steelers 2025 schedule. I know this schedule's gonna be hard.
Let me check my schedule. And by the way, Toronto is beautiful.
Oh, I'm glad you're having a good time.
And my Providence Bruins lost 4-2.
Damn.
And I'm going to a hockey
Not
game
go
tomorrow
out.
again.
I'm watching the NBA. I need someone to step the fuck in. I need someone to lock in.
Damn. That's how you know he needs the Steelers to make moves because he's watching the NBA.
So 2025 away.
Well,
What's that?
Wait. Future
Joe,
for our team is
I would
okay. We played the NFC West.
you go, but bro, we're cooked.
Wait, what's that, King? I can barely hear you. Damn. We may have lost King.
Okay. Yeah, Allah. We play you guys in 2026.
Yeah, makes sense.
And we're away in Philadelphia.
That'll probably be a good matchup.
And for our 2025, we play the NFC West.
Right. But yeah, shout out to the 8 people watching live. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Feel free to get any comments or thoughts in the chat. We're gonna be wrapping this up pretty soon. Yeah, it's been an eventful day. I'm gonna check the timeline to see if anything happened during the live because I got every name down of people who made moves before the stream, but I may have missed somebody.
Let me check NFL.
Alright. So I just said
There's still-
about schedule.
Russell Wilson is expected to meet 2 quarterback needed teams. So with the Browns and the Giants. Tomorrow he's meeting with the Giants.
Yeah.
And Rodgers is meeting with the Steelers, I guess.
Oh fucking god. Are we really about to get Aaron Rodgers? Why? That is not good. That is not good hoop. I swear to God,
You
it's
want to hear something funny about the Cowboys?
Let's hear it.
Jerry Jones reported refuses to give Dak Prescott a top tier. Hang on, let me load it up here real quick. What does Jerry Jones do? The top tier wide receiver.
I mean, clearly
They already have one.
It's Tolbert and Mingo aside from CeeDee Lamb, but
yeah. Apparently he doesn't want to add another top tier wide receiver to the Cowboys.
The only thing that I saw that happened during the live stream, and I guess I'll update it, but yeah, the Panthers basically gave Thielen a new contract to secure him coming back. So I threw that in here. So that adds to their
offseason. They retained.
It's the first like meaningful move to their offensive like skill position pieces. I'm not counting the backup running back as like a meaningful move. These are moves where like I didn't know that it was possible that maybe he wouldn't be on the team. Like it's good for them that they have him, but like right now their wide receiver trio is Thielen, Leggett, and Coker, and that's just not good enough, I don't think.
And listen to this. Recently, star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb agreed to restructure his contract, trading up cap space to help the team.
Oh yeah, and what are they doing with that money?
They're just wasting CeeDee Lamb's money that he restructured.
Signing scrubs, man. Signing complete scrubs.
You guys gonna kick their asses tomorrow, this season.
Hopefully, man. Fingers crossed. But speaking of asses getting kicked, the long day that I experienced is kicking my ass. So we're gonna wrap this stream up. Shout out to everybody in here. Like I said, 10 people watching.
How did you wrap this dude today?
They won, unfortunately. Make sure you guys hit
the
like
button.
They beat the Sixers. Yeah, man, it's tough. Make sure you guys hit the like button and subscribe to the channel on your way out. I will be probably back tomorrow to discuss more moves, provided that there's enough moves to talk about. If not, I'll be back on Friday. I'll see you guys then. Take care. We're out.